Today I'm going to show you how to go through and create dropshipping Pinterest ads. When it comes to Pinterest ads, you do want to structure them in a specific way, and also, if possible, use specific products that are meant for Pinterest, because when it comes to Facebook ads, Google ads, Pinterest ads, all these different ad platforms, there are actual products that work specifically better on these platforms. So if you can go through and find the product that works best with Pinterest, you're going to do much better. But also you can go through and you can try out these Facebook products too, because typically the transition from Facebook to Pinterest will work relatively well. So when it comes to setting up Pinterest ads, what we want to do, of course, is we want to optimize for conversion events and try to get those purchases from our customers. With Pinterest, the way that it's set up is you want to really optimize for specific targeting or specific keywords, so specific audiences within Pinterest, because Pinterest has a lot of search-based intent inside the platform as opposed to Facebook, where it's just disruption marketing. So what we would do when we're setting up the campaign is we would go for conversions as the objective for the campaign. So we're in the campaign setup right now. And then when it comes to the campaign titling, just to keep things nice and clean, we're gonna go with RM for the product name, and then we're gonna make it a conversion campaign, and then we're gonna go ahead and target just the tier 4 countries. So we'll do tier 4 countries, and then we're gonna put in the break-even ROAS of the product, which typically when I'm working with products, just as a general rule of thumb, I try to aim for products that have a break-even ROAS of anywhere from a 1.3 to about a 1.6, 1.65 on the high end. That's kind of the sweet spot that I've noticed. So I do recommend that you go out and you find something within that kind of spectrum too. So we'll do a 1.40, let's just say, for this product. And then when it comes to the actual setup, we're gonna go ahead and continue and set the budget, not at the campaign level like you see here, but we're gonna actually go ahead and set the budget at the ad set level. So inside the ad set level, or ad group as they call it on Pinterest right here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do specific targeting to do with demographics and also interest-based targeting. But with Pinterest, it's not just an interest-based targeting that you're doing, you're actually diving a little bit deeper into these subcategories. And with Pinterest, since it's all about search-based intent, tags, grouping, and all of these different things to do with the board setup, with Pinterest, you really want to go and you want to work into these subcategories gradually. So it's not starting out in these subcategories. You start out very broad, but then you gradually work deeper and deeper into the subcategories and find your ideal audience. So with this setup, what we would do is we would just get rid of that name. We're going to come back to it in a moment here once we actually have the ad group set up. All of this is your custom audiences. So this is something you would dive into a little bit later on when you're actually trying to scale out your ads and you have data. You can then build custom audiences, do your lookalike audiences, all of that different stuff with all this information right here. Down here with the budget, when it comes to budget setup, Pinterest does require a large budget to start out and collect data, because the Pinterest tag is actually very smart, it really is, but you need to give it the right amount of money so that it can go out and it can find you your audience, and you need to let it run for the right amount of time, because so many people will go through and kill their Pinterest ads prematurely, but reality is you need to let it go for at least 2 to 4 days. So that's why I'm going to show you how to structure your campaigns and your ad sets so that you're working within a budget that you're actually comfortable doing that with. So when it comes to the budget, what we're going to do is we're going to set up this ad group at $50 per day. So relatively high budget, but we're doing this for a specific reason. When it comes to the budget, what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave it at a daily budget spend, not a lifetime budget spend. You can go through and you can experiment with lifetime budget spend if you want. I have experimented with this, and sometimes lifetime budget spend performs better, but the problem with that is the campaign eventually will turn off, or the ad group will eventually turn off, and then you gotta go through and kind of reboot the whole thing. And it's just a little bit of a pain, but it does effectively work sometimes. So down here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna select a specific date. And what you would do, of course, is you would just select the date following, not the date that you're actually going to want to launch this. On Pinterest, they don't optimize or change all of the time zones for you. They leave it all in UTC, which is a little bit frustrating when you're kind of trying to analyze your data from your campaigns, I always go through, this is very important, I always go through and analyze my campaigns the day after, because then I actually have full complete data, especially with it in the UTC time zone. Of course, if you're located in that time zone, it works perfectly for you, but I'm in PST, as you can see down here. So if I wanted it to start at 12, I would have to do 8 a.m. UTC. And then as you can see down here, it shows that it's going to start at 12 a.m. PST. So it's just a little bit of a pain, but you know, you just kind of got to work with it. Then when we come back up here, we're going to continue the ad set setup. So adding all the key details so that we can go and dive deep into these core audiences and core groups and kind of narrow down the boards that all these people are looking at where we would want to present our products. Because you need to think of all these categories and subcategories that are within Pinterest as little pockets of people that you want to get your ads in front of. So right here, we're going to go ahead and drop down this keyword setup right here. And when you come into the keyword setup, you're going to notice right off the bat up here, it has enabled expanded targeting. We don't want to work with that. That's a more advanced technique that requires a lot more money. Then down here, what we're going to do is we're going to select core interests. So when we work with core interests, these are the main ones right here. They're bigger audiences with sub-interests or subcategories ingrained inside them. So the way that you go through and you pick a core interest is you want to find a sub-interest that you're ideally working towards. So let's say we're working with a product like a hair straightener, right? So we would want to put in something like hair. So when we go through and we search up hair, you can already see that we're going into 3 subcategories to find this tool that would align with our product. So realistically, we could do hair accessories or we could do hair tool. I think hair tool is a little bit more in line with what a hair straightener is. So we're going to do hair tool. And as you can see, when we go up the subcategories, we got hair tool, then we got hair, and then we got beauty as the main category. So what we would do is we would go back out here and we would just select the main category of beauty. This is because what we want to do is we want to initially start by targeting the core audience and then go and work into these subcategories or sub-audiences as we collect data. Because as you go down and you narrow your audience targeting, you're going to have to be a lot more specific and have a lot more data on your Pinterest tag to be effective with that. So what we would do is we would start off with this core interest, which is beauty. Once we have that selected, we're then going to go up to the audience. Once we're in here, what we're going to do is we're going to select the demographic of the customer. So we're going to go ahead and select exactly what we want them to be. When it comes to this, even though it's a hair straightener, we're going to leave it as all genders just because we want to leave everything very broad from the beginning. We're trying to narrow down our audience within the pixel tag. So then this way, when we go and we actually go into the subcategories, which are more narrow, the audience that's on the tag and the audience that we're narrowing down to will actually align very well, and it can be incredibly profitable. So right here we got all genders, we're gonna leave it as all ages, and then when it comes to the actual specific targeting for the countries, as we labeled it on the campaign, we're gonna do the tier 4 targeting. Then down here with the languages, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick specific language and we're just gonna do an English one, unless of course your ad is in a different language, then you would do it that way, but we're doing English ads on my end, so we're just gonna go ahead and leave that. When it comes to devices, you're gonna notice that on Facebook, I do typically recommend optimizing for mobile, but with Pinterest, we're gonna go ahead and leave it on all just because we want to leave it as broad as possible. The audiences on Pinterest aren't as big as Facebook, so we really just need to play to the platform and make sure that we're doing the best optimization techniques for this specific ad platform. Then when we come down here into the ad placement section, we're going to leave all because this will leave it on browse and search, which is really great. We want it to appear on both those ad placements. So that's all good to go. We now have our keyword set up, all of our demographics set up, our ad placement set up, and that is all good to go. So now that we know what audience we're targeting, which is going to be beauty, so we're going to put in beauty, and then we're going to put in the audience size, and I always put the bottom audience size, not the top one, so that's 65.9 million as the audience size. So it is quite broad. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to narrow down as we go. We don't want to narrow down right off the bat because the tag is just not smart enough to figure out exactly how to allocate your budget. So with all the dates set up, the next thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that we have the right conversion event. As you can see here, I already have my Pinterest tag set up, which is very easy to do. All you need to do is just get the Pinterest app for your Shopify store and you're all good to go there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to optimize for a checkout conversion event. Checkout with Pinterest does mean purchase. purchase, so don't worry about it. Anytime you get a checkout conversion event, that means you're getting a purchase conversion event, and it will adjust and show you the exact conversion values based off a checkout event. So we're gonna optimize for that. And then for the bidding, we're gonna go ahead and leave it as automatic bidding because we want Pinterest to go ahead and find these audiences at a reasonable cost based on what they think will work best. So we're just gonna leave it as automatic. Now, when it comes to Pinterest ads, the way that you set up your pin or your ad is very, very important. This platform is such a display platform. Everyone that's on there is looking at images, looking at videos. So what you need to do is you need to go through and you need to really make your image, video, and title all pop at an extreme level because it's so image oriented on Pinterest. There is no text like with Facebook. So with this, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your image takes up as much space as possible and has the best title as possible. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the image is in an H.264 format. So H.264 is just the formatting that Pinterest accepts. If your video is in a different format, you can easily just go online, do a quick conversion, and you're all good to go. The next thing that we really want to look for is the sizing. So the sizing should be 1000 by 1500. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a pin that's more like a phone screen as opposed to a perfect square. And the reason why you want to do this is because a perfect square will absolutely destroy your Pinterest reach. You will get horrible engagement, you'll get horrible conversions, and it's just going to absolutely obliterate all your ad spend and all your ad potential. So make sure that you go through and you set the correct dimensions for your pin. So to just give you an example of what I mean and just how important this is, you can see the difference when it comes to the sizing. So the sizing of this one right here, which is a perfect square, absolute nightmare. We don't want that. But then when it comes to the sizing of these other ones right here, the sizing is a lot more appealing and you can actually see what's going on inside the video. The next thing that we really want to go over is the titling. So as you can see, the title on a lot of these is very boring, but you aren't allowed to add any type of an emoji to your title. So you really need to add a title that's going to draw the viewer in and make them want to click through words. You can't use any type of visual demonstration within your text. So it's very important to make sure that you're titling this very correctly. As you can see, these other ones just blend in like crazy. These really small ones, they even double stack the small ones sometimes, and it just completely makes your ad go unnoticed. So you really want to make sure that it's the correct size. Like this one, as you can see, it's a good size. So that's what we're going for. All right, so let's say that we got our pin all set up. We're ready to go. I love you. Just keep you guys fired up and ready to go with this setup. So when it comes to this, what we want to do is we want to make sure that our title describes the exact value offer that the customer is going to receive. So describing exactly what the benefit is, what it's going to do for them, whether that's solving a problem or if it's providing some type of personal value to them, we want to highlight this in the title. And then when it comes to the description down here, what I like to do is add supporting evidence. So it's basically something that's going to really engage them, and then as they go and they engage with the ad, we're going to support exactly what we just stated up here with this section down here. So let's say that we're doing a straightener. We're going to do something really, really simple. Okay, so as you can see, when we're doing a hair straightener along the lines of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the viewer in. So straighten hair without frizz. I would probably actually add hair just so that they know exactly what we're talking about. So straighten hair without frizz. Immediately the viewer is going to be like, okay, anytime that I straighten my hair gets really dry, it gets really damaged, it gets frizzy sometimes, I have to use certain products while I'm doing my straightening, and this is a big pain point for females. So if I can present the product in such a way where it's straighten your hair without frizz, that's very generalized, but at the same time, it's straight to the point. It's really telling the viewer exactly what they can get from this product. Then we go into the supporting facts and evidence, which is simply straighten. That's the name of the product. Let's say a way to straighten your hair without frizz. Now that's obvious because we already stated that previously, but then I go into the supporting details. So it's better for hair health with low heat straightening. So when it comes to the frizz and when it comes to hair care, you really don't want to be using any type of hot or really high heat tools, because of course the heat is damaging for the hair. So what this is doing is it's presenting a solution to the problem, and it's explaining how this solution will actually benefit the user. So it makes sense to the customer. This could make sense to any consumer out there. Lower heats result in less less damage to your hair, which is excellent. So this isn't a real product, obviously, but it definitely is the structure that you want to use for your title and your supporting evidence, as I would call it. So once we have that all set up, we then would want to go down here and put in some tags. So when it comes to the tagging sequence, all that we want to do is 3 to 4 tags that will identify the specific audience that this product would work for. So when you want to find a specific audience that this product would work for, it's very easy to just type in something to do with the product. So hair care, and as you can see, we have several different ones. So hair care, natural hair care, which would be awesome, black hair care, which would be awesome, DIY hair care, and then makeup, not so much. But these 4 right here are definitely really good to use for your tags. Then we would go ahead and we would drop the link directly to our product page right here, which would attach it to our pin. And then the final stage, of course, is picking a thumbnail. Now, I know everyone says thumbnails are incredibly important on Facebook and Instagram, and that is so very true. I've cross-tested that several times. The thing about Pinterest is a thumbnail is even more important. The reason why a thumbnail is even more important is because when you come back to the Pinterest feed, as you can see here, a lot of these videos don't actually load until you're directly on them. So this is why the thumbnails are important, because as someone's scrolling through and they see something, the initial impression is going to be the thumbnail, especially if they happen to stop on something above the one that's going to be yours. So let's say I'm scrolling and then I see this and I'm like, oh, I want to watch this video right here. And then this one down here is your ad. This is just showing the thumbnail, right? So if you're not putting a great thumbnail, you're missing out on a lot of traffic, because the first impression, just like with anything in life, is so incredibly important. So make sure that your thumbnail's not only eye-catching, but another really cool trick of the Pinterest trade is make sure that your thumbnail has some type of descriptive text at the top of it, because then what that's going to do is it's going to really catch the viewer's attention and explain the exact value proposition right away. So you would go ahead and you would take an ad like this, but instead of having just the video, and that's a horrible example, look how small that stupid thing is, just absolutely ridiculous. So you would go and you would take something like this, right? And you would put text just like that, but even more bold, even more aggressive at the top, and maybe add a lot of color, because then that way, if they go and they scroll and they just see that, let's say they're looking at this, but then down here they see this that says my kitty trying to calm its tail, that's very intriguing, right? Especially if it really catches the viewer's attention. And then automatically when they start scrolling, their eyes are going to be drawn over here to your pin. So it's very, very important to do this and implement this correctly, because this is going to determine the success of your Pinterest ads. Pinterest is very visual, so you need to get with it, and you need to really get deep into the buyer psychology of visual effects and how the Pinterest platform works, including how the Pinterest users work, because they are very, very different people. So that's how you go through and you create Pinterest ads. But if you click this video right here, I'm gonna actually show you exactly how to go through and create Facebook ads to take your product from $100 per day to $1,000 per day, scaling the product properly. If you did like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Creed for all future videos.